If refresh.
Warning.
You are now tuned in to 7 Mile Radio.
Production.
7 Mile Radio.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to see us tonight on Tapped In Podcast. Tonight we're going to be talking about generational curses, and I know that's like a broad idea, but as the conversation progresses, we're going to narrow it down to some specific details and topics. That we all can relate to, of course, and how just patterns and decisions and generation, we call them generational curses, but they're pretty much patterns of behavior within a family and decision making, how that has been passed down and how we can do better, essentially. I wouldn't say break a curse. Of course, we want to break a curse, if that's what you're calling it, but these are negative patterns and behaviors that have been learned behavior from generation to generation. So we're gonna open up, of course, by speaking to everybody. Hey, Champ, how you doing tonight?
What's up? Hello, everybody. I'm Champ. How y'all?
And Osa here. Peace and love, everyone.
So we were anticipating a guest, and we won't put him on the spot for not being here, but we're going to go ahead and have somewhat of an editorial conversation about generational curses and how we perceive them and view them. And for me, when we discussed and came up with this topic, I wanted to go to the source where I first heard or learned about a generational curse, which was the Bible, right? And so in the Bible was 62 specific curses that was named in the Bible for various different things. Sometimes they were on countries, sometimes they were on families, they were even on individuals. And so we know that curses are a real thing, and it's the way it was described is usually 3 to 4 generations down. But some curses were throughout your children, your children's children, your children's children's children. Some curses were that severe, depending on the offense to God, essentially. And so that was my first idea of a curse. I didn't think of it in modern or present day times the way that we do now, or in the way that it is spoke of now. And so I want to hear some feedback before I move on, because of course we want to talk about ways that they say that you can reverse a curse according to the Bible as well.
I see when you talk about generational curse, even if you reflect to the Bible, you have to look at the environment. When you mention like countries, it's the environment. So the environment actually has an influence on behavior, actually has an influence on the way of living. So when they be like, this is a curse, if I'm living in a environment where habitat is very hard to grow fruits, vegetables, and whatnot, so it's going to be hard to live there. So they're going to know it's going to be repetitive behavior patterns in order to survive. Yeah. So granted, if you stay here, in essence, you're going to call it a curse, but it's only a curse because you are staying in this environment, and then your offspring is going to repeat the same thing that you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So to break a curse is to break patterns, to break behavior patterns, to break teachings.
Mindsets. You
know what I'm saying? So yeah, mindset. So it comes from traditions. You know what I'm saying? You look at our elders, they're so stuck on tradition, and as human beings, as this earth, we are created to evolve. So if we don't evolve, we're pretty much ideally stuck in a curse.
That's a very good perspective way to look at it. Without evolution, it is like you're stuck in a curse.
Right. From us being a baby, we evolve into an adult. So we have to adult. We're the only human. We're the only animals on this earth that have the free will to think. So with that free will to think, that compounds our evolution. You know what I'm saying? We're able to create. We're able to destroy. So if we have a curse on us, we're able to destroy that curse. You know what I'm saying? But you have to be open-minded. You can't be stuck on our elders telling us this, and that. We take that as lessons. We take it as wisdom. We take it as knowledge, and we apply it to present day. How stuff changed from when they was there. Like we got 4 seasons, right? And no 4 seasons are identical. You know what I'm saying? So I can take your wisdom how to handle these seasons, but this season is a little different than the
Yeah,
season that
right.
you went through. You know what I'm saying?
Then you're-
So I'm going to learn something new with this season. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to teach my offsprings the same thing. So collectively, we're going to have what the grandparents told us, what my parents told us, and now what I'm telling my offspring. You know, it's like a book that's called Rich Dad and Poor Dad. Why we have
love that book.
Yes.
You should
Because
just, you should just
that
bring it.
defines
Talk about it every show, damn man. Like,
You should
defines
just bring it
the
and put it in the
generational
camera and
curse.
say,
Yeah.
y'all go get this book.
You know, it defines generational curse. You know what I'm saying? It's so heavy that, you know what I'm saying, how do I make sure my child is successful? That they're better than me, that they're more successful than me. We all want our children to be more successful than us. So I have to learn new tools. You know what I'm saying? I got to learn new ways because obviously my ways and my tools didn't make me successful as I wanted to be. You know what I'm saying? So if I want my child to be more successful than me, I have to teach them new ways. Even though I didn't apply it myself, I went out and learned, and I'm giving it to them. You know what I'm saying? So to take it and go on. You know what I'm saying? Because your child's, their brain is a sponge. So you imagine if you just plant, you know, go back to the Bible, that mustard seed,
That mustard seed.
plant that mustard seed, you'll be surprised on how your child is going to grow.
What do you think, Osa?
Well, I think it takes, in order to break a generational curse, again, it's a pattern or a cycle that's generally passed down through your bloodline. So like you said, you become a product of that environment that you're in. It takes a great deal of critical thinking as well as, what word I want to use, acceptance,
Yeah.
you know, to own it and then be able to work through it. So, yeah, if you have that open mind to be able to sit there and say, okay, well, this has been passed down. Like I seen my grandmother go through this, and these were her traits and her characteristics. And then my mom did the same thing, and it was still that same, you know, dark cloud that covered my family. Like now I see it within me, but let me stop it right here. That way it won't, you know, pass down to my child. You know, so it's really just, you know, taking accountability. That's the word I was looking for. Taking accountability for these traits and these cycles.
Another, during my research, another perspective of curses that I read about was from Africa. So their perspective of curses is goes pretty much further than 2-3 generations in terms of your forefathers, your ancestors, like your ancestors had, of course, nobody was perfect, and the evil that they had committed had brought upon a curse to the family. And you had to spiritually work those curses, you know, break those curses more so than in an individual way, because the family had been cursed with whatever issue. And I know that sometimes, I don't want to say families are cursed, but sometimes you do see families as cursed. It's like, what's wrong with them? You know, nobody's married in that whole family. Nobody's married. That seems, to me, this looks like a curse. You know?
you will pick that thing as the identifier for a curse. Like,
no,
I had a
I'm
whole
saying
lot of
what-
other things in my mind, like, and you went to the marriage.
But I understand what she's saying when you're talking about a curse and with your spirituality. Some people's spirituality or how they believe in spirituality is passed on from their parents and grandparents.
That's exactly the point I was going to make, because it's people who, you know, raised and born in church. To them, you know, is no option of not getting married. They're taught to, you know, it's like, it's the difference. It's like, it's a learned
And you're
behavior.
looked down upon if
And
you're
that's
not,
Listen.
if you don't never get married, especially if you're
We
to the
won't.
age of it. Yeah, well, that's what you basically said. And
No, I'm not saying it like that. I'm not saying that it's something wrong or right. I'm just saying that if marriage is an institution, and you know, it's not good for a man to be alone, and a man is supposed to take a wife, why is a man not taking wives in his family, right? And so what cursed in his mind, how is he cursed in which he hasn't taken on wives?
But some people have to, you know, how they look at the ideology of marriage, right, in the Bible. So a lot of people believe marriage is based on the children, you know what I'm saying? Whereas marriage is designed to keep two parents together to raise a child for their benefit. You know, as you read the rules of the marriage,
I think so.
no matter whatever y'all going through, y'all supposed to stay together because it's going to benefit the child. You know, so when they're sitting there talking about generational curses, like if you got one child, oh, I ain't need my parents, and I'm successful. You know what I'm saying? So now you can look at that person teaches their children, you don't need your parents. I need one parent, or I need a father. Only need a father, or I only need a mother, or their experience. My father was more influential on me versus my mother, or vice versa. My mother was more influential than my father. So then now they teach their children that. You know what I'm saying? You'll have fathers that, oh, my mother was influential. Then I get married, I got a child, and I make sure my child is influenced more by my wife, their mother, than me. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what they took upon growing up. So that creates a curse. You know, a pattern of behavior. So when you go back to biblical time, when you be like talking about, spiritual, now that father tells them all to go to church.
I mean, I want to have. I don't struggle with being transparent, but I never want to offend anybody, right?
Oh, I can never be
And
offended.
so, a lot of times they consider a curse as being related to a sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some type of sin, like all mankind is essentially was cursed because we are supposedly born sinners, and therefore we're born under a curse until we do X, Y, and Z, and and be saved and that type of saved from the curse we born under or whatever because of Adam, right? And so how. If that be the case, then I see sin. I see sin occurring in that family, in my own family. I'm not putting it out there for nobody else.
He said, "You ain't gonna slide past. You ain't gonna slide past."
Because of Adam or Eve. The curse is because of Adam or Eve.
Because of Adam.
Yeah, I believe it's Adam.
It was Adam.
That's why that apple stuck in his throat.
No.
Right.
That curse is given to Adam.
Straight. So why couldn't it be applied to?
The word is the word.
So why do you have a period, ma'am?
I remember, but I forgot. No, but it is to remind me that I was,
to cleanse yourself.
It's part of the curse, man.
It is part of the curse.
Oh, okay.
It is part of the curse. But the curse was given to Adam. Adam.
Can we agree that both got curses?
Got mankind cursed.
Can we agree that both got cursed, the woman and the man?
You bit the shit.
Yes, of course. I mean, as a result of him being cursed, she was cursed. They were one.
Wow.
Do you not agree?
I don't believe either were cursed, but
I only tease that conversation because at the end of the day, I don't think the creator created us to punish us. You know what I'm saying? When we sit there talking about sin, did he actually create us to punish us?
And that's what the core of that book. I ain't gonna get into it,
right?
Because like she said, I don't like to offend nobody.
Let's get into it.
I want to see. When we sit there talking
I want to see the other side. I know y'all have a different perspective, so I want to explore it.
Yeah. When we talk about sin, when we talk about heaven, when we talk about hell, when we talk about devils, all that, right? Did this creator design to punish us? Ultimately, the creator has an ultimate design that everything has a balance, right? Granted, we're not the infinite intelligent. We don't have as much intelligence as the creator. So we're not going to understand the balance that he created on this earth. And everything comes at a balance. You know what I'm saying? When we look at our ecosystem, when we look at actually being on this, now we look at, we don't
understand the mechanics of how none of this shit was made and created.
Exactly.
We ain't even been to the bottom of the ocean and the earth.
Exactly. It's like when we was talking about the fifth element, you know what I'm saying? That the creator put this fifth element in this earth and our being in our existence for a reason, for us to coexist. You know what I'm saying? It's not for us to know, because if we knew, everything will be distilled, will be boring. You know what I'm saying? Like if you ever watch the Jim Carrey
show.
We
all different.
Yeah,
we ain't all the same.
We need difference. We need sad, because if we never experienced sad, we wouldn't even know what joy was.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
So I want you to chime in, because I know you're somewhere way different from where I'm coming from a little bit.
Well, I don't even know where to start with the piggyback off of, but I don't believe that we are necessarily a cursed people. These are storylines again that was created to kind of keep us in fear. You know, and if we fear questioning it or looking outside of it, or if we fear that we're gonna, be punished in flames, we're not going to ask questions.
Right.
So that's why critical thinking is very, very important. And being able to self-reflect and then hold yourself accountable. That's truly breaking the chains.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, we hold on to these traits, and we, some people just say that's the way I am.
I call tradition peer pressure from dead people.
Perfect
It
example.
is.
If you look in the black community,
It's
always expressed that your offspring has to go through poverty, got to go through everything you went through to be successful. That's not true. You know what I'm saying? It's like in the black community, oh, my child 18, I'm kicking them out. You don't see that in other cultures. They don't ask.
They're setting their kids up for success.
That they can survive in the world. Just like
they're not
a
teaching
bird
them,
in the
setting them
nest.
up for failure. I mean,
Right.
or
You
using
gotta go
fear
through
as a
failure.
tool,
Yeah.
right? Because our people told us to stay away from credit cards. Like, don't get no credit card.
Man, stay
Like
away from the bank.
even still to this day, you know what I mean, type shit. I mean, because they weren't educated on nothing.
Nothing. Finance. You know what I'm saying? It's like, remember when you was a kid with
Or
my
the correct
generation?
correct way to use it. I'll say it like
Yeah.
that. There's not what weren't educated on nothing, but they weren't, you know what I mean, taught the right way to use, credit and, shit
Finances,
like that.
yeah. So, remember my generation, you go to the bank with your mama, you go sit down over there, you
Yeah.
don't touch nothing, be quiet, I don't hear nothing, right? So, but then at the counter, what they used to have at the counter? Suckers. Right? Do you know the underlying irony of that?
Mm-hmm.
When you grab that? Why would they put candy at a bank on a counter for adults? Ain't for your kids. Take this. While you put your money in the bank, take this, sucker. We are lending money to the bank. You know what I'm saying? The bank is only responsible for holding 10% of what we give them.
Mm-hmm.
So what they doing with the 90%, they putting out there, right? So now here goes Susie, Karen, Barbara. When they bring their kids to the bank, what happens? Come here, Timothy. Come here, little Carla. The little funds that they made doing this and this and that. Let me show you how to make a deposit slip.
Mm-hmm.
They don't teach them how to make a withdrawal slip. They teach them how to make a deposit slip. They don't learn about withdrawal until they get older as a teen. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the Jewish culture. When they become adults, 12, 13, when they have their bar mitzvah, their bat mitzvah. You know how much they make during them bar mitzvah and them bat mitzvah? Because you got to imagine their culture and how much finances in their culture, how much is donated to them at 12, 13, and how much it compounds over the years when they become an adult. Now they're going to sit there and teach them how, here, this is what you do with a withdrawal slip, and this is what you do with your money. And then it keeps on circulating. So, they call them the chosen ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Biblically or spiritually, how everybody look, they look at the Jewish as the chosen race, right? But we are the cursed race.
They're cursed.
You know what I'm saying? So how do you
Supposedly
actually,
from the tribe of
supposedly,
Ham.
supposedly,
if you're gonna get a little more.
but if you want to
into
go,
that story.
we're talking about generational curse,
Yeah.
right? Are we the original Hebrews?
Well, that's where the question is.
So are we
that,
cursed?
that becomes a question because, who is the tribe of Ham? Because that was the tribe the tribe of the Jews that was cursed. They claim we are the tribe of Ham. Maybe we are Jews, but we Hebrews, but we are that tribe of Hebrews, and therefore we are the cursed tribe of Hebrews.
You think we cursed?
As African Americans or as Black people or what? Cursed? Who is we?
This color skin right here. Are we cursed?
Well, I would like to pose the question, who are we cursed by?
Yeah.
Are we cursed by the creator or are we cursed by the system?
Exactly.
Because it's more so of the system that has us in our shackles. We were never meant to be free.
You think so? We cursed by the system?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's a book by,
Abso-fucking-lutely.
what's his name? I think it's something Akbar. Naeem Akbar. It's called Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery. A very good book to read about, breaking free from, us thinking that we're free now, in modern day slavery, but we really have these psychological chains that were embedded within us. So these are actual curses that we pass down to our children too. We don't teach them how to be free. We teach them the system.
Yeah.
You know, so and they know that if they can, you know, have a control of your mind and put your mind in chains, that they got you. You know, you're a slave forever.
Imagine slavery being a dog in the backyard on the chain, right? And then when the dog gets off the chain,
He's still in the yard.
he feel like basically you can see where I'm getting at. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You still in we still in the motherfucking yard and shit. We just off. We ain't confined by the chain no more. But some of us are mentally conditioned that the chain is still there. You seen the you know how you have a elephant chained to something, right? And they can only go so far, and then after a while, it's like they're mentally conditioned to being locked down in that area. So they just don't leave from around that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of, you know, how we're trained. You know what I mean? Even how a goldfish
Conditions.
grows. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
the
Y'all know how
conditioning.
a goldfish will grow depending on the body of water that it's in. You know what I mean? If it's in a bigger body of water, that's the reason why they put pictures of aquamarine life in fish tanks, is to give them the illusion they in a bigger body of water. I mean,
Right.
and it's to give the fish the illusion that they got everything that they need around, just like us in the ghetto and shit.
If we look at the time frame of how this earth evolved, right? We're talking about thousands and millions of years, right? So we go back to this color of skin, right? How long did we reign this earth? This color of skin. We're talking
Well,
about
well, that will go back to your question. Do you think that we are cursed?
I'm about to-
Because
yeah,
if we
that's-
are the
that's what-
ones who
that's what I'm about to get to.
was the only ones,
Yeah.
then we have to be the ones who
That's what I'm about.
receive the curse.
That's what I'm about to show you this perspective. Like,
Okay.
if we sitting there talking about this color of skin, right? Reigned this earth for thousands of years, right? And then the Romans, the Greeks, that came in to Egypt, right? We're talking about a few thousands of years compared to 1,000 years prior to they came.
When the ice
that
people
we
met the sun
reigned this
people.
earth, right? So then, over time, now we're talking about hundreds of years. That was 400 years of slavery, right? Because first we came over here as servants.
And then
And it was the Portuguese that written the law that the offspring became your slave, your property. Right? So now we still have a group of people, a wide group of people in Africa, the continent of Africa, that are still in their culture and their tribes, and the Europeans is coming over there colonizing them, right? But understand that we colonized them first. You go to Ireland, you go all deep Europe, we colonized them first. The Moors and everything colonized them first. So now they're going into other lands with a more of a survival mode. That I'm gonna sit there and tell y'all, look, we're gonna bring this to you. Now we come to a barter and trade, right? So we was the most influential. You go back Egyptian times, everything that's during their time, we was influential when it comes to education, knowledge, science, engineering, etc. They still can't explain how pyramids was built, right? So fast forward to 2023, who was the most influenced people in the world?
Definitely
That's us right here, right? So now you sit there and
People of
see in
color.
politics and government and how our society is moving now, we are coming right back. Slowly but surely. People sit there and think it's supposed to be an event. It's a process. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
right.
We're only 50 years of Jim Crow laws. You know what I'm saying? And look how far we didn't came. You know what I'm saying? That's good. That's a good pace of where we at right now from Jim Crow laws and from Jim Crow laws to
You know,
slavery.
and it's a lot of things like, you know, how, you know, the whole abortion thing that we just went through, right?
Yeah.
You know, that is basically because, you know, Caucasian women are not reproducing at the rate that they not, and not only that, right?
lifespan.
They're not living as long.
You have to understand.
You know what I'm
when
saying?
we go back to genetics, you have to understand their genetics are evolving because they're out of their element. You know what I'm saying? Our element,
And
we're in our
when
climate,
the earth that you live on is trying to kill you, it should let you know something.
you're out of your element. You know what I'm saying?
You're not sun people. You're ice people. You can't. You're not required. I had a conversation with someone around the time that I believe it was the George Floyd situation. You know what I mean? And the riots and stuff was going on everywhere. And downtown Detroit, it was protesting and shit. You know what I mean? I was on live on podcast. I'm like, you know what I mean? I don't like how the people from the suburbs come in all of a sudden and try to, you know what I'm saying?
I was saying that too.
Yeah,
Shutting down the freeway and all that.
because you know, for number one, you know, you come in and y'all get to tearing up shit and then make it look like it's us, you know what I'm saying, tearing up the shit, right? And then, you know, the conversation came up with this one person that said something along the lines of, you know, why don't y'all just do this when the police, you know, pull y'all over? Or why don't, like we should tone down how we act. And I said, you are a polar bear trying to tell a grizzly bear how to survive in this climate.
Right.
You don't eat the same. You don't live the same. Where the climate ain't the same. It's like it's nothing is the same. You can't. You're not equipped with the tools to live where I'm at. So you can't tell me how to survive in my climate.
The better answer I tell them, because granted they're not knowledge of their history. The Europeans are not knowledge of their history because they're not taught about the groups of their ancestors going into black communities and burning them down. You know, when you mention Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, they have no knowledge of that. It's not taught in their history books. So when you actually explain to them that riot culture and that burning down culture came from y'all, that's what y'all did, that's where we learned it from. Now, the only time y'all do it during sports events.
I say, yeah.
And it's accepted.
The main time.
You know what I'm saying? It's accepted. It
Well,
doesn't
except
go
for in January at the Capitol, they had to get.
But look, we're not even
That was
talking
they-
about
they
it.
went-
And
they
not
Trump,
even talking about it no more.
Trump just got indicted.
Yeah,
Right.
I saw that.
Yeah, Trump just got indicted about that
We're
shit.
not
They
We're
they
not
showed
even-
us how they
yeah.
can get down for real.
You know, but they're not even shaming their own people on that.
No,
You know what I'm
no.
saying? It's more of a political thing
Right.
than an actual cultural thing to actually shame their own people of their tyrant
Their
behavior.
action of their and the
You know what I'm saying?
actions.
But they're not gonna forget. They're not gonna allow us to forget that y'all tore down your own community. They're gonna mention the riots. You know what I'm saying? Them white folks, they know about the riots. They gonna mention that. They gonna throw it in
Yeah.
our face.
And about
You know what I'm saying?
the city of Detroit,
Yeah,
shit like
you know what I'm
that.
saying?
Yeah.
That was like the height of rioting. They mentioned Detroit. That was world
Yeah.
news.
Yeah.
But we had plenty of riots prior to that. You know what I'm saying? You got in 1985 where the police department dropped a bomb in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You know what I'm saying? Most people don't know about that. They dropped a bomb. A helicopter flew over West Philly with a bomb in a helicopter and destroyed 64 row houses. So y'all know like how Hamtramck is designed with row houses. That's how Philly designed. They dropped a bomb and destroyed 64 row houses.
That's like
So how
64
many
blocks.
them blocks. You know what I'm saying? So when you actually mention somebody about that in 2020, what? But they'll remember Detroit riots in 68, 67, but y'all don't remember when Philadelphia Police Department dropped a bomb in West Philly, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? And killed masses of people. So that's not in our history books. They don't talk about that. The only
Not at
riot
all.
they talk about is the Detroit riots. And the only reason why they talk about it because Detroit was one of the richest cities in the world. That's why they talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't destroy our property. We destroyed their property. We was renters. We was leases. We didn't own none of them properties.
And you know, Devil's Night was just motherfuckers from the suburbs coming in, burning the rest of the fucking city up to drop the property value.
Yeah,
Fucking
it's
Trump.
burning their own
Yeah.
For
stuff.
gentrification
Insurance
purposes.
ain't-
Yep, they was preparing for what it is right now.
So you believe like in Detroit has a curse?
Do I believe
How did they just
You know,
flick a
that
switch
is
and stop
so-
Devil's Night and shit?
that they really did, right? It
They
just
just flick a
disappeared.
switch and
They
just and it just shit
disappeared.
just stopped.
Because insurance companies wasn't paying out.
Yeah, right. Something
Insurance
happened.
companies wasn't paying out. You know what I'm saying? You got to understand, insurance company got insurance.
That wasn't people paying. That people wasn't burning
Wanna
up
say
their own
something?
shit. There was a lot of times,
I'm
them
debating
like I
if I
said,
need
them
to
motherfuckers
say
from the
it.
suburbs was coming
Don't
through.
say it.
So after they burnt up everything, when they was like, okay, we about to start buying up the motherfucking shit now. That's what it was.
Well, they really didn't buy up nothing because right now we're still dealing with. That's why we had to bring in the land bank to control all of these empty lots. They were taking their
Right,
insurance
most
money
definitely.
and building up their own communities.
Say it again.
You know what I'm saying? So when you run out of stuff to burn and burn down and collect insurance, like, oh, we already established. So all that money that I invested in my
Because quiet as
business,
kept, the motherfucking businesses, all of that shit was owned by motherfuckers that wasn't here, that wasn't
Just
live in the city.
It's
Yeah,
like-
you're right,
it's
you're
like-
right,
it's
you're
like
right.
saying-
it's
Hey.
like when we talk about Black Bottom and Paradise City, when they talking about they relocated the blacks, right? Who owned all them properties that the blacks was renting leasing? We couldn't own nothing. It was the Jews and the Polish, right? So where did they relocate the Polish at? They went right down 75 to Hamtramck. That's where they relocated them. So then when they argue, be like, well, they relocated the blacks. No, you segregated the blacks
Let's
over
go back
these-
to your question though.
Yeah,
Let's
I
go-
wanna
do-
hear your answer.
Is Detroit cursed?
Yes. You believe Detroit cursed?
I was gonna. Before, do you want to say something? You want to answer that? Do you want to
Yes.
tap in on that? Is Detroit cursed?
is cursed.
Oh yes, we have. A
There was an
farmer.
intentional curse done on Detroit.
You don't think so?
Yeah, I know so.
That it was an intentional curse?
Yeah. It's like a Masonic curse that's here on Detroit.
Talk about it.
Down at Hart Plaza, they have these rocks with the chains on them. That's supposed to represent the chains or the voices of Detroit, or the labor of Detroit and the women here.
Yeah.
I was a part of a group. We actually did a ceremony down there at Hart Plaza to help uplift that curse.
How long ago? When did
This was maybe about 5 years ago. I did it with a group of people. It was led by a guy named Keith Young, and he gathered 3 other women, and we came together and we did a ritual to break that curse. But it deals with the oppression of the women here, of labor, and of the voices. But even looking at the intentional attacks that we get, like when it comes to insurance, like we're targeted to
The
be
redlining.
suppressed, so like there's a lot of different attacks that's put on the people here to make us feel like we got to work harder or do more than it is in any other
Who you
city.
think engineered all those attacks?
Like I said, I'm not actually for sure, but what I have researched and what I feel is it has been like the elitists, but it's like a Masonic, like the Masons, the white Masons.
This because I go back, right, because you had Harriet Tubman, right, is where she was freeing all the slaves, and she came to that church in Detroit to
This
free the
is
slaves.
ground zero. This is where
Right.
it ended.
You know what I'm saying?
Of
Where
course, you know
blacks
that.
was coming for freedom, for new opportunities. You know what I'm saying? So I can't call that a curse. That church right there next in Trapper Alley, next to Greek Town, that church that's the church that Harriet Tubman was bringing the slaves to freedom. Either they're going to sell in Detroit, or they was going over to Canada, even have a better opportunity in Canada, right? So that's where it begins, right? So then we become industrial. We have Henry Ford, that was an anti-Semitist. You know what I'm saying? He was against Jews. You know what I'm saying? He was more into socialism and communism. You know what I'm saying? When he started industrializing, he wanted to control all his workers. Here, I'll provide a house for you at $5 an hour. You know what I'm saying? You're able to sit there and finance a vehicle. Your wife stays home and she does wife duties. You cannot have no one living in your house. Everyone has to work for me. He has personnel that he staffed that goes around Detroit, and that's why Detroit is designed what it is as a family environment and not an economic environment. You know what I'm saying? So he has people goes around and check each household that no one is actually boarding in their house and they're making any extra money. Only money you're gonna make money from me. You know what I'm saying? You can look at this, you can look up the Henry Ford history and they're gonna explain that. The whole dynamics of Detroit.
So that sounds like a curse to me.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
that's what I'm going to.
work
So
hard.
now this is an engineered curse. You know what I'm saying? He engineered this
Definitely
curse.
engineered, yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like now, it's a different dynamics of slavery. I'm only going to pay you enough to meet your necessities. I'm not going to pay you enough
to be my neighbor.
Stop talking about the plants.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, what you think it's for short for? Plantation. Come on, man.
That's
It's
why
the
I had to break
plantation.
I'm
That's what it
telling you,
is.
That's why I had to break free. You can really feel
That's it.
that
And I
the
feel
heaviness.
like
So it was designed whereas I'm going to manage the majority, but you still gonna have outlets to be greater because I have to have a balance. You know what I'm saying? It's like the rules of art of war. You can't back your enemy in a corner that they can't get out. So if I put this group of people in here, I have to put a small little valve to let a few people out to give them hope.
hope.
You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? To come
I
to
knew that's
work
where you were
every
going.
day. You know what I'm saying? So then
And you promote a couple people. Yeah, of course.
Then you have
It's
your
still the
profit
same
sharing
system.
checks. You know what I'm saying? It's only going to be a small percentage of people with their profit sharing check that's going to use it to progress them to higher levels.
Yeah.
That's my outlet. I'm going to give everybody 10,000, right? It's only going to be 5% of the people that's going to do right by that 10,000.
Use it to raise themselves out of the curse.
Exactly.
Because I can't say I think it is or it's not, but it just seems like whenever someone moves away from here, away from Detroit, that they are more successful.
I mean,
right?
you could just travel like down
Yeah.
75 and you can
But how
hit
many?
Ohio, like hit the line and you can see the difference in the air. Even driving into Detroit, like you can see the darkness. You
But
feel
we're
the
an industrial
darkness.
town, though.
Yeah.
I mean, but this is still
Yeah,
out in the
I'm just
woods.
teasing,
Like
I'm just
it's
teasing.
not,
Yeah, I know what
yeah.
you're saying,
Like
yeah.
you can see the border. Like you
Yeah,
can.
when you cross Front Street.
But
Yeah,
it
even
go-
thinking
it-
about chakras, like the
Yeah.
Earth has chakras. You know, we have different
Yeah.
meridian points on the Earth. So
Yes.
this whole city is like a very I forgot which chakra it resonates with. I want to say it was the throat chakra.
You know what Detroit reminds me of? The movie Ghostbusters, when all the evil was underneath the earth.
And you know, Detroit sits in a pit.
Yeah. So
The whole
it's-
underground.
they was battling all these evils that were turning.
That's why
whole
we don't
other
get hit.
town.
That's why we don't get hit by tornadoes.
I noticed, like this year with all the bad weather, it never really has reached us.
It's like we probably had one tornado that fucked up over here on the east side years ago. But
Years
yeah,
ago,
that's
yeah.
what-
But like she was sitting there saying, it's like there is like a dark cloud in Michigan, not even Detroit, in Michigan. You know what I'm saying? If you even like listen, if you even watch crime shows of like the evil in Michigan compared to like other states, you'll be like, wow, look at Oklahoma bombing. That derived from Detroit. That derived from Michigan, the Upper Peninsula. What was his name? Terry Nichols.
Was it? Oh, I've
Terry
taken Tim
Nichols.
McVeigh.
Timothy McVeigh, yeah.
I don't know if he
Okay.
was from Michigan. I know Terry Nichols was from Michigan.
Okay.
You know, he was from the UP. He was in that
Militia.
militia. Yeah.
You know, they say when that shit popped off between Ukraine and Russia, it said that you know what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
The Michigan militia alone has more guns than the entire country of Russia, dog.
Oh, Michigan militia is real.
That's real.
Oh, it's so they so real. They so
You have
committed.
politicians
That's part of the militia.
that's part of the militia. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the government is fearful of
I
the
knew
Michigan
some
militia.
Oakland County officials that was part of the militia.
A
that
lot
was
of law
loosely
enforcement is part of the
associated with Terry
militia.
Nichols. You know, so it's just like wow. But granted, not to sit there and compare them with him with his evil doings, but you understand that's the
I wonder if
group
black
of it.
people can join the Michigan militia.
I wonder too, cause they
I'd
not
be
very.
scared. I don't know.
Look.
I'd be scared to join this
Hey,
motherfucker.
look, it was like that one Dave Chappelle, Tyrone Biggums.
You see, don't you?
That Tyrone Biggums when he was blind, he
Yeah,
didn't
you
know.
know, it's like,
Hey, look, it's
he know
very
he was
possible.
black.
It's very
Oh,
possible.
man.
It's very possible. But you know, because you look at what we going through now. It's like we live by white standards, right? And then you believe it or not.
I think that after that, I don't.
Do you think you live by white standards?
I just think that there's no alternative at this
There it
point.
is.
Right, our
There it
standards
is.
have
Word.
been decimated.
There it is.
You know, we
There
don't.
it is.
They don't. We. It's been narrowed down to one.
We are the minority,
standard,
so
and it is
our
their
standards
standard.
can't be the general standards because we're the minority, right? But we actually are influenced their standards. You know, you look at all their conservative ideas get broken down when we become the influence. You know what I'm saying? They never believed hip hop would take it this far, like Biggie said. You know what I'm saying? Now we became influenced on them that changes their standards.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Now, when we come into
We push.
a workplace of their conservative standards have turned into a liberal standard, like, yeah, you can wear this now. You can wear this hairstyle. Who did that? We did that. You know what I'm saying? As a minority group, not as a majority group. You know what I'm saying? That's like the Asians coming in and being an influence on
Yeah,
the
I think you
majority.
could say
So you
that
understand
about
how
a lot
powerful
of
he is?
cultures.
Name another minority group that can come in by oppressing group and actually reverse everything. That tell you how powerful we are. And that's the thing, same thing Ye on. Like, we are the culture. This us. We up.
And we not.
You know what I'm saying?
And
We
so
are.
are we breaking? So are we essentially breaking curses at this
it's
point?
breaking down.
We breaking curses.
Man, he just showed Adidas that he
It-
breaking
it-
that.
it- yeah, and
Just
what
show
it
the
is,
demons
what it is
breaking
the
that.
difference between where we have to understand in the areas that we contribute to the curses, and I guess
Yeah.
that's what Kanye
Yeah.
is trying to get us to understand. Link is like Kanye trying to get us to understand where we contribute to the shit. We actually are financing
Yep.
and opting into the curse.
Because of the brainwash,
Yeah.
the Willie Lynch.
Participate.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
We're going back
you know what I mean?
to
Participate.
yours as a slave was free, but still inside the compound. It doesn't even know that
Like
you're free.
we're the dog that's often like we're not chained to the fence, so we think we free.
Yeah.
We still in the owner's backyard. We
Yeah.
ain't jumped the fence. We
Right.
ain't out there being able to eat what we want wherever we want. You know what I'm saying? We still he still tell us he still eat when we eat when he tell us to eat.
You know who
what
had-
what he you know what I mean? What he feed us?
You know who had the blueprint to break this generational curse? Was Marcus Garvey. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He has a system called Garveyism. You know
But
what I'm
Garvey
saying?
wanted ain't that who wanted everybody to move to Africa?
No. He was empowering the Pan American. He was empowering Africa to empower us over here.
Okay.
You know, whereas understand who was the federal agent that got Marcus Garvey expedited, that pushed all those charges for him to get indicted.
I'm sure the name.
Yeah,
Hoover. So now y'all see the
Yeah,
timeline.
president.
Even when Marcus Garvey was around as our black leader, Hoover was around at 25 years old, attacking our black leaders. That was his own mission throughout his whole career to attack our black.
That was his
Leaders.
platform.
Edgar Hoover?
Yes. I'll tell folks. All you gotta do is look it up. He was 25 years old. Just got in the feds as an FBI agent. He was adamant about it, right? Because he was about segregation, creating our own communities. You know what I'm saying? We create our own community. That's the only way we can be equal. There's no such thing. There is a such thing as separate but equal. You know what I'm saying? When we create our own community. Because all the other nationalities did it. The Jews, the Arabs, the
Why do you
California.
think all of the cities? Why is it a Chinatown? Why is it a Mexican town? We ain't got no African town.
Hold on. Pause.
ahead with it.
Pause. This
We do,
2023, my hometown Philly is now established in the African town.
Man, that's what I'm
nice.
talking about.
Now we establishing African town. You know what I'm saying? I just on the phone. Philadelphia is establishing an
You know,
African
I was talking.
town.
I had an interview with. You might be familiar with a brother by the name of Dr. Copper.
I'm familiar with him.
Said, man, what is it gonna take, man, for black people to, our people, and I don't like that black, right? What is it gonna take for our people to get their shit together? He said, tell you a story about two men. It was two men that was talking to each other, right? It was just like me and you talking, right?
Yeah.
And you got your dog with you. Your dog is laying on the motherfucking plank of nails. Dog down there, yeah, just hollering and screaming. Me and you talking and shit, right? And we just casually talk. Your dog is yelling though, and I'm like, dog, your dog is like on the fucking on some nails and shit, like you know.
Yeah.
And you say, well, when he hurt bad enough, he'd get up.
That's very true.
And that's what you said about black
That's
people. When it
very
hurt
true.
bad enough,
Very.
we
Hey,
get up.
what Pac say? We burn this bitch down, we get pissed. You know what I'm saying? When you keep on pushing, like the other example, if you push your enemy in the corner where they can't get out, they will kill you. You know what I'm saying? When that person gets tired of them nails in their back, you gonna get up and do something. You know what I'm saying? It's all about the amount
And it
of
don't
time
hurt bad
that's gonna
enough right
happen.
now because we conditioned. We like that we've been. You know what I mean? We've conditioned that this is the way that it's supposed to be.
Yep.
And anything outside of it is like, what the fuck is it? What is it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we can't create our own systems. We can't create our own shit. I mean, all the way
So,
down to the
me, it
religion
just
is the
comes back-
indoctrination
right.
that keeps us
Angry
in
bullshit.
line.
Done.
It just to me, it just comes back down to a curse.
Okay. Now we got a curse, right? And for y'all ladies, because it's gonna come down to, you know what I'm saying, it's gonna be a woman thing and it's gonna be a man thing, right? So how do y'all look at the state of black men right now? How much faith do y'all have in a black man to lead? Generally. Because at this point, we don't have not one black leader. Think about it. We don't have not one black leader.
Hey, shit for me to think about.
Well, no. In terms of men, it's too many chiefs and too many Indians and not. How
Too
does
many
it go?
chiefs, not enough Indians.
Too many chiefs and not enough Indians, because there's plenty of intellectual, academic, political, social leaders that are well equipped, but
They're more
they need
influencers
to.
than
Then
leaders.
they still have to organize
Yeah.
others to come behind them, right? And nobody wants to get behind anybody else. It's like, oh, I got my own thing.
Why is that?
And,
The
and that's what me,
egos-
and for you
the
asking
egos
about
are
me, how I
unbalanced.
feel
Why-
like
why
how
is
the
that?
men are doing. That's what the men are busy doing. Why do we don't have a leader, a male, leader right now, so to speak, like a Malcolm X or a JF, a Martin Luther King, because
So where's-
everybody wants to
Where's the women playing?
want
the
their
part
own
in it?
church,
Where's-
essentially.
Where do the women playing at?
Well, the women support their partners. So I mean, it's like, oh no, we're not joining them because we got our own thing. We got our own thing.
But shit,
All the
it's
men
so
want to
busy.
have their own thing. The men won't come together.
This is my whole take. I can be attacked. I don't care.
Okay.
If the women hold a whole higher standard, if the women collectively hold a whole standard to them black men, they ain't got no choice. They ain't got no choice. Because you looked at every black leader that we had, it was a strong black woman behind them. You know what I'm saying? When you look at all our black leaders, they had a strong black woman. Just because y'all didn't hear them on stage or this and that, but that will propel them every day. Every time they open their eyes in the morning, it was that black woman that propelled them every day, that gave them faith, that gave them hope. It's a supporter. You had James Brown.
it's a lot of. Go ahead. I want to say something.
Yeah, you had James Brown.
We're gonna take some calls.
He had the song. It's a man's world, but nothing but a woman in it, right? Who you think Al Sharpton mentor was? James Brown was Al Sharpton mentor.
I mean,
but he got
but
caught
then
up in the
Al
rafters.
he got caught up in the
But see,
cameras.
yeah, right. We don't talk about Al Sharpton present day. Talk about Al Sharpton
But,
from the
yeah.
beginning.
Well,
You know what I'm saying? He was a lot stronger then. But now, as our only black leader lost, he got caught up with the lights and cameras, etc. Want to be, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm this, I'm this. Got into the
I mean,
politics.
There was a time when Cornel West could have been a leader, but everybody had something to say. We've had plenty.
We drag our leaders down. We think about it is like if it's one thing that we don't like about them, right? One thing.
They gonna
Fuck
say
all
that.
of the good work that this man did, or all of the shit. We just throw the baby out with the bath. You know what I mean? Like it's like if this person has to be literally Jesus.
Yes.
In this day and age,
consider-
because now society, social media, like any one thing, man, will drag a motherfucker down and out of the spectrum of being seen as a leader that somebody can follow.
Yeah, we are
A
very
call for
critical of
calls.
our own.
I got a question.
A call for calls.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put the call in line up right
Okay.
now. If anybody want to call,
Do you believe that we need a black leader to come up?
Absolutely. I mean, I think
We
yes, we need
more than black. We need black leaders. We need black
need a
organizations.
multiple, but we
We
definitely
need
need
black
a-
businesses.
Yes.
We need
We
black
need a
hospitals.
rise.
We need black library. We
We need
need
a
black
rise.
media outlets.
Yes.
We need a whole black community. Right now, we don't have a black community.
It's
Like, we're
nothing that's
colonized. We're
comprehensive.
put where we're at.
Like, does the whites have a white leader?
Joe Biden.
Does the
Well,
whites have a white
but-
leader?
Wait a minute.
I mean,
let me.
we need to become
before
our
you
own
be-
leaders, though. Again, we have to
Empower ourselves.
we have to empower ourselves, but we have to stop again tearing each other
Well,
down.
that's
You
know.
See,
She's
that's
on
what
the
I
right
spoke
track.
on. That's what I
So,
said,
yeah.
right? For number
Yeah.
one,
That's
what I
the
said.
answer I wanted.
It's not
That's
just black
the
leaders.
answer I
That's why I
wanted.
said we need all of that, man. We need
All of it.
organizations. We need black.
We need all tiers.
firing
of
on all
hierarchy.
levels, man. That's what we need, man. It's not one savior that's gonna make everything
At all.
fucking
See,
right at all. You know what I
Because
mean?
we tear each other down so much, that causes the ego and the pride to just roar more.
Everybody want to
And
be the
that's why
savior. That's the problem.
Our
Everybody
men
want
are
to be the.
failing, you
Yeah.
know, and they're not willing to take the leadership or the wisdom and the guidance from a woman, because now they're so rah because they're so used to being taken down or picked at. They don't want to hear the constructive criticism, so like we have to work on
men
ourselves as
won't let-
individuals.
won't let
But
women
see,
be strong
you mentioned,
anymore.
you mentioned
Yeah.
the women, and I'll sit there and say that feminine movement played a big part in negativity in our community.
That was the white woman at first.
You know what I'm saying? And it was a white women's movement, and the blacks piggybacked off of it. You know what I'm saying? Because the women in my family, like the older ones, like my mom's, all that, they didn't believe in that feminine movement. You know what I'm saying? Because what it did, it emasculated the man. You know what I'm saying? When you keep on taking roles and roles and taking it from the man, now the man has to come up with more
You know what?
and more
And then
masculinity
when
to
you talked
prove
about-
himself. He had to have a machoism, right? Then it becomes toxic.
When you talked about there being a strong black woman, right, behind all of the leaders of the past, what I was about to say was nowadays, a lot of women are so selfish and all about themselves that they are not trying to get behind a black man and push him. It's just all about what a black man can do for them. I didn't say all by a long
And that's
shot.
definitely
But
a
to play
generational
devil
curse.
advocate,
That's
to
a
play
curse,
It's a
right?
curse.
It's a Jezebel
Right.
curse.
To play devil advocate is because the man don't give them women that credit. You know what I'm saying?
It's basically
Martin
it's
gave
definitely
Coretta
a-
that credit.
Malik
Malcolm gave their wife their credit. You know what I'm saying? They acknowledged them. You know what I'm saying? Granted, they didn't put them on a platform, but they acknowledged their being, their existing of their wife.
But can we
You know what I'm
can we all agree that it takes a space? Not just any woman
Yeah,
that
no,
can be
no,
in
no,
that
no,
in
no,
that
no,
place.
no,
It's
no,
not
no.
just.
I'm
any
saying
woman,
that to
though, you know what I
encourage
mean?
women is, you know what I'm saying, you
Most
boost that
definitely.
man up. You
Most
boost the
definitely.
right man
Most
up. You
definitely.
can't
Boost
boost
the
any
right
man
man
up.
up.
But
And
yeah.
that man in return
There you
is
go.
going to put
There
you on a
the fucking
pedestal.
Yeah, we have
that
to
you
realize
won't
that
feel
we
good
do
about
need each other. You know,
At the end of the day,
we need each other.
at the beginning of the day,
Don't
the
say that
middle,
too
and
loud.
the
These
end of the
women
day.
don't believe
I
that.
know we need each other.
I don't need
I mean,
no now.
some were conditioned though. Some have been hurt. You know,
Right,
again, the
right.
men have been,
That's
you know, minimized so much to where they don't know how to show up for a woman. So then they become her enemy. You know, so then now as a woman, I got to do it by myself. I could make my own money. I could do this.
Well, like
You
I
know,
say, like the main
it's-
thing about us is we want to be appreciated. So when you take away my ability to be appreciated by saying that nothing that I can do for you, you know what I'm saying, you can't do for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, why am I even putting forth the effort to even try it? Like you're not even giving me an area to try to, you know what I mean?
Because you
Now I'm
you-
just supposed to do that for and then while you just sit up here and say, oh well, I don't, you better do that.
Right,
'Cause I
because
could have did it for myself.
it's entitlement. They believe that everything a man does is entitled. They don't have to show no appreciation. You know what I'm saying? I'm just talking generally. So like now,
And not all women.
But
Let
it's
me,
a-
not all
that's what I'm
women,
saying,
right?
Not all by
You know
a
what I'm saying?
long shot.
Because I'll be around beautiful women that just you
That
know what I'm saying?
appreciate me, you know what I mean?
that appreciate men, not just her man, but men. Period.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah.
That support it. You know what I'm saying? And then it'll be men that doesn't even appreciate them. You know what I'm saying? It goes both ways. You know what I'm saying? It's like we have to build each other up. So like when I look at
that
women,
part. We got to build each other
when
up.
women sit there and hold a higher standard, be like, look, no, I need you to do this. No, I need you to do this.
Right.
And when they do that, acknowledge that and
Then
show
the men
appreciation.
arise and then they can
start
come
rising.
together. But still, that doesn't talk about men's inability to work with each other or support one another.
Who men
Men.
supporting each other?
Yeah.
Men,
Yeah, because-
supporting
because-
each other
because-
and coming together.
because
you know that's
It's
know why
that
men-
Jesus
you know, that's
complex.
just gotta-
Everybody
that's
want to be the
gotta be
top.
in
You
y'all
know why
lane.
men? You know
I
why
don't care
men
if
don't
it's-
support each other? It starts in the workplace.
the
They
competition.
all trying to come up
Competition.
together.
Yeah, like that's what I said. I was just about to say, I don't care if it's organized crime or a Fortune 500 company. We don't respect the hierarchy that's in place. I see this dude at the top. I want the attribute. I want the shine.
You
He
gotta
got
take
all
him
of the
down.
credit. You know what I'm saying? And I'll take him out.
Yep.
Regardless of me having the skill or the talent or the
definitely a
work ethic
mindset.
or anything that it took for me to get there.
Right.
I just want to be at the top.
Yep, that's it. That's it.
I don't want to be nowhere under this man's total pole and helping him get higher.
And they want the fast track. They want the fast track. They only want to build it. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I come home, right, and I'm sitting there and talking about work, right, and I'm talking to my wife,
But that's a
talking
cursed
to my wife,
mentality.
and she's sitting there and start breathing in rational shit. You know what I'm saying? Because what the beauty is about women, right, is that men are high risk takers, right, and the women are the one that's in their ear as a rational thinker to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand where you want to go, babe. But look, let me sit there and point this out to you. You know what I'm saying? Because we'll put them blinders on. Look, I'm just looking at that bread. Like you said, I'm just looking at getting to the top. But then it's going to be the woman that's going to be the one that's going to humble you and explain to you, you have to do that, right? Because the women have to do that. You know what I'm saying? The women have to take steps to even have their voice to even be said in this man-run world. You know what I'm saying? So with that,
women
those
understand that
attributes
it's
that's
a,
instilled
women
in
understand it's
y'all,
a process.
right? You know what I'm saying?
Them getting up and getting how they look every day is a you know what I mean? They understand that it's
Exactly.
a process.
Yeah.
involved in shit. It don't just wake up and and happen.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And then the woman to be honest with you about your strength, that she knows your strengths and your weaknesses.
And this how
You ain't
need
even
to apply.
capable of that. Like, come on, like, just, you know what I mean? And you got to be honest enough with yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you
Open
know
to
that this is your
receiving
good,
it.
like, something like, you know, if somebody love you, you got to be able to take what they say. Like you talking about the criticism. You know what I mean? Somebody got to, you know, you got to be able to take the criticism or be honest
Absolutely.
with yourself.
Take the criticism and apply it. I got one question for y'all. If y'all was looking at a man or a man was pursuing you, what are the stipulations he has to have for you to be with?
Oh, we don't want to get that far off.
No. It's an answer.
You know I don't wanna
no.
do that.
Reason
You
why
know
I
I
asked,
don't wanna do
reason
that.
why I asked that. Okay, if you don't want to answer, I'll explain. Because typically the women gonna be like, I want a man with a job, with a car, with a house. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So what? So we can go on trips.
No,
we
I
have
don't
stuff.
think like that.
No. I'm just talking generally. That's why I asked y'all the question, right? So imagine if women went around to each gentleman before you can even further conversation with me. I want to know about your morals, your values, your standards,
Your
Yeah,
emotional
ethics,
Of
intelligence.
course, I'm
all of
very
that,
concerned
right?
with those things.
So if every man has to present that to a woman, what you think that's going to do to our community? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what we lack is the man having
The
morals,
the
values,
morals.
standards, integrities.
So that all
You know
go
what I'm
back down to the generational curses being passed down through the family line, though. Because if you weren't raised with
Because
that,
they broke the
you know,
home, right? They broke the home.
Yeah.
They knew what they was doing, and we break the home because you know you had the Black Panthers back then. They was bringing the homes together and protecting them, you know, providing them with. That's how they got food stamps because they was providing the kids with nutrition, with breakfast, lunch, the whole night. The whole program came from them. So they was saying they restructured the Black home. You know what I'm saying?
I know of a guy, right?
Yeah.
And he did very well in terms of doing something different that his family had done. And he was able to, because his family, I wouldn't say they didn't have any values or standards, but he was able to recognize that it wasn't normal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like this, the way I was raised or the way my
Right.
family was it's normal for us, but
Yeah.
it's not actually normal. Like I don't,
It's
and
not
he's
practical.
so out. You know, you have to seek out those things if you don't have those things. You have to realize when you don't, and that's when you talked about acceptance and realization. You have to understand when you lacking. When you lacking wisdom, you know, if you lacking wisdom, you need to seek that. And a lot of people don't even know that they don't know in the first place.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say don't have a choice, but which is why it's like some thing outside of themselves that is creating a curse in their life, because this is perpetuating generation to generation, because until somebody recognizes that this is not normal.
Yeah.
And then do some, you know, like we talked about, it's an individual thing. It's one person at a time. Each person having to do the work and break those cycles in their home, you know, in their families to you know, to better elevate the society and the community as a whole.
Well,
And no man is going to get behind another man.
it's two
No man
parts.
is going to get behind another man until he's secure, you know, secure enough in himself,
Right.
right? Because these men, I wouldn't call it insecure. It's probably definitely the wrong word, but unknowledgeable
No, they have
to
the lack-
see
they have
another
the-
man's vision.
Right.
Right? I can't even see your vision because of all this other stuff I have within myself. You think you better than me, you smarter than me, or you think you know, all these type of things.
Right.
I can't even envision your vision. I won't even try to envision your vision, and you know, even if I don't even have one for myself. It's like, oh, well, you got one. Well, let me just think of me a vision. Well, why you just can't hear, you know, support this vision?
If they don't have the examples and they haven't seen the examples and the results,
They gotta seek it out.
you know,
They gotta want it.
Within
You gotta
themselves.
want
they
it.
want it. But see, granted, every child, every young adult wants it. And they'll see the examples, right? But if the tools ain't put in front of them, they don't see no realistic avenue of actually getting it because the tools is not there. It's like, you know, I got white kids in the community, right? So they have all the tools in front of them to go to college to start businesses and this and that, right? So now I got this back here. They got dreams of all of this, right?
But
And the
this-
only
but
thing in
it's
our
a
community,
it's a new day, and so a lot of times, and I want to acknowledge this, right? A lot of times we talk about in terms of like black and white, but at this point in society, we have poverty is everywhere, right? All ethnicities experience.
Well,
it's an economic strata.
This is the thing.
More so than
Our
a color
community,
strata.
our
because
community
just
is
as
in more
much as
poverty
we
than any other.
It's other places. It's some white people communities that are the rural areas. They not even thought about.
Not by the numbers that we are. Is Detroit in poverty?
Very much so. I think
Right.
most of Detroit lives below the poverty line.
Is there another city in the United States? Okay, Detroit population is 600,000. Does the white community have another city in the United States that have 600,000 people in poverty?
I mean, we all know that.
There's no comparison.
I mean, that's part of the, oppression.
Their poverty is spread out in small increments around this country. You know what I'm saying? Ours is concentrated in cities, especially in the northern cities. When we talk about Philadelphia, we talk about Detroit, we talk about St. Louis, this and that. You know what I'm saying? You go down south, it starts to spread. Our poverty starts to spread out because we're in more rural areas.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So we can't actually put a pinpoint on it. You know what I'm saying? When you go down south, you know what I'm saying? We have less majority black cities down south than we do in the north. So when you go down south, they all spread out. So how do we sit there and bring them all together? And typically they're not going to come together because they're typically stuck or not stuck or complacent of their environment. So I can't
see the time. What time is it?
My head going, it's time to go.
It's 8:16.
Okay, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion. I hope it encourages discussion. I hope it encourages those who need to seek wisdom, seek knowledge, to do so, to better yourself, better your family, and better your community. This is Tanisha, Champ, Osa, and thanks for joining us, and have a good night.
Peace and love.
Peace.
Good night and good day.
Warning. You are now tuned in to 7 Mile Radio.
Production.